Joined now by the Orioles Executive Vice President of Baseball Operations, Dan Duquette. And Dan, going back to the offseason, you preached about how there needed to be increased depth in the organization, and not only depth, optionable depth. Who knew you were going to have to use these players as often as you have early on, but the fact that you loaded the system has really paid off.
Well, I think it's paid off this week especially because the pitchers we've brought up, they've all performed, starting on Sunday with Logan Verrett in New York. He came up and he won the game, and then he went out and he saved the game after he got the Yankees out. And he got some key outs there when he got Judge out, and then he got him out after we scored 3 runs. And then Tyler Wilson came up. He did an excellent job. And then Alec Asher has had 2 quality starts for us. We didn't win the game that he pitched, but he's pitched 2 very good games for us against the Eastern Division rivals. And then last night, Gabe Ynoa, he came up and he pitched a terrific game. Now, he didn't get a quality start because he didn't start the game, but he pitched 6 quality innings for us, and he got the job done.
With pitching in such demand throughout the major leagues, how is it that you were able to identify not players that you felt could come in and help, but players that did have options? I thought that was a commodity that teams did not want to give up.
Well, that's true. We wanted to go out and get some more pitching depth. Last year we had a number of pitchers on our roster and they didn't have options, so when it came time to make a change, we had to ask waivers on that player. We had to get the waivers on the player. If another team claimed him, we'd lose him, and then we had to send him to the minors and bring him back up. And then a lot of times these players could walk away. They'd have the option to walk away once we made the assignment to the minors, and we just decided this year we're not going to do all that. We're going to identify players that we like, that we think can help the team, where we can unilaterally bring them up and down between Norfolk and Baltimore. And that's why we have so many interchangeable pieces for our pitching staff, because we designed it that way.
And you talk all the time about the current 25-man major league roster is what it is daily, and it really has been daily, but it's really about the organizational depth. And when you look at the start of this year, the Orioles have 18 wins, 12 different pitchers have at least 1 win. That's remarkable depth and remarkable consistency.
Well, we've always had a very good bullpen, okay? So we've been able to backstop the game if we can get decent pitching up to the 5th or 6th inning. Now, we also have power, so we score our share of runs because our power hitters can beat up on the average or subpar pitching in the league. So the idea was to go out and get some more quality starting pitching, and it looks like we've done that with the addition of Asher, with Ynoa. He's going to help us, with Tyler Wilson coming up and pitching effectively. And we just saw Roger McDowell there. We got to give Roger McDowell a lot of credit. He's done an excellent job. He was a disciple of our pitching coach last year, Dave Wallace. He's a former pitcher here, and he's got a good way about him. The guys have responded to the way that he handles them, and they've done a good job, and it's shown in the results. Now, there you see tonight's pitcher, Dylan Bundy. He's a young pitcher, and he's really been the most stable of our starting pitchers in our rotation. So got to give a lot of credit to Dylan, but I like the way Rogers handled all our pitchers.
You've had a particular success in finding players that maybe other teams don't want, in particular with the 6-year minor league free agents. When you talk to them in the offseason before they sign, and then in spring training about, look, you're coming here, you may be in Baltimore, don't worry about starting in the minor leagues. Does that help you when you have situations like this that you could point to and say, hey, look, we have 18 wins, 12 different pitchers, somebody's going to get a chance?
You know, it's all about opportunity for that level of player. They're looking for an opportunity to get back to the big leagues and to pitch effectively. And in the past, when we've told them, look, we're going to give you a chance, we give them a chance, and a lot of them stick and perform for the major league team. So when the Orioles sign a player in the offseason, they know they're going to get an opportunity. Buck does a terrific job in spring training, letting every player show why we signed them, show what their skills are to help the team. And the players know that, the agents know that we're not going to spend a lot of time and energy on them without giving them the opportunity to make our ball club.
And at least for now, the five-man bench has been a real asset because Seth Smith and Hyun-Soo Kim, although Mancini's in the lineup tonight in left field, they can play against the right-handed starters. Then you have Joey Rickard and you have Craig Gentry against the left-handed starters. Plus, they're both excellent pinch runners and they're very good defensively. So you're talking about really utilizing all the talent that you have because of the skills they provide.
Well, that's right. And we have a little bit more depth this season, but we have the complementary depth, right? We have the left-handed hitters and we have the right-handed hitters. We have the defensive players, we have the speed players, and we have pretty good power all throughout the lineup.
And you also have depth at catcher. In fact, Audrey Perez, who's now hurt, there was no room at AAA where he was all last year, so he had to go to AA. But what an asset to have Francisco Pena around just in case. And just in case happened this week. No one knew that Castillo's shoulder would come up sore. He had to go to the DL, and there you have yet another quality backup waiting in the wings.
Well, that was helpful. Castillo's done a nice job with the pitchers. Caleb Joseph is a good catcher to have in reserve there, and he started to hit this week. He's got a couple of RBIs. See Caleb there getting ready for the game.
He's a drummer.
Well, whatever it takes to get ready, he's having a good time. He's preparing for the game. Now, he must be going over some special signs that he's got for tonight for our guys. But anyway, Caleb's done a nice job, and he handles the pitchers very well. Castillo's done a good job, and Pena was in the organization last year and came up and contributed to the team, and we're glad to have him. He was starting to swing the bat very well at AAA, and he's going to get an opportunity to help us this week.
And tomorrow, you finally get your opening day starter into a game, as Chris Tillman will come off the DL, so you'll have to make yet another roster move tomorrow. But it's got to be nice to know that the pitcher who has been the ace the last several years is going to come back and contribute to what has been an excellent start.
Well, we're looking forward to having Chris come back and regain his stature as the #1 pitcher on the team. Now, he's going to have some competition with Bundy the way Bundy's been pitching, but Chris was the stopper on the staff last year. He stopped the losing streaks that we had, and he ended a lot of issues among the American League East teams by being very, very competitive and a player that we could depend on and rely on. And he's been that way the last 4 years for the ball club. So we're looking forward to having Chris come back. We do have some challenges with Zach Britton going on the disabled list. But fortunately, we have pitchers like Brad Brock and Michael Givens who are taking on more responsibility in their roles to help the club protect the lead late in the game.
Well, when you look back to last year, you brought Donnie Hart up from AA. And if fans have noticed and paid attention to the AAA team, Jimmy Yacobonis, who's the closer down there, he hasn't allowed a run yet, and we're in May. He's really pitching well. There's another possible option for the back end, not necessarily as the closer, but for a 7th or 8th inning. There's yet another player that you developed, you drafted and developed, and he's more than knocking on the door. He's screaming, let me in.
Yeah, Jimmy Yacobonis had a good year. He looked good in the spring, pitched very well. He's much more consistent with his delivery and his fastball, and he's coming along with his breaking ball. Stephen Crichton, I'm hoping he can get his feet on the ground and make a contribution. And, you know, I also like what I saw from Blyer this week. He pitched some good innings for us against the Red Sox, and he's got some experience. He pitched well last year for the Yankees, and I think he's going to be able to help the ball club. So, you know, I like the complementary depth between the lefties and the righties in the bullpen. And as you mentioned, we do have some more pitchers at AAA that we think can come up and help us, like Yacobonis.
The Orioles went 3-4 on the 7-game road trip through New York and then Boston, and you were on the trip the entire way. Very, very emotional. The lead got away in the first game in New York, then all the nonsense that went on in Boston. But I'm wondering if in some way this might help the team be even stronger, because one of the strengths of this team is the resiliency. They seem to not allow things to bother them, or at least not let it carry over to the next game.
Well, this is a real tough part of our schedule. When you go and play the Yankees, then you go play in the Red Sox, and we did that for 1 week. Okay, we came out of it pretty well. I thought we competed very, very effectively, and we split with the Red Sox, and we almost won the series from the Yanks. And we have split with them over the course of the season, both teams. So we're holding our own with this 2 big behemoths in the American League East, and that's what we're trying to do. This is a very, very challenging stretch for our ball club, and so far we've been up to the challenge. Now we go from here and we play the Nats, one of the top clubs in the National League. and we're going to have to play the Cubs this year. So the Orioles' strength of schedule is off the charts. We probably got the hardest schedule of any club in the big leagues. But so far, we've been up to the challenge against these two clubs in the American League East that have a lot more resources and spend a lot more on their Major League payroll than the Orioles do. But I'm really proud of the way our guys go out every night and compete. Okay, we went into a very challenging environment in Boston this past week, and our guys came out of there with a couple of wins, and I was really proud of the way they handled themselves in a very challenging situation.
This is pretty much a veteran lineup, a veteran roster, but do they benefit from what they did go through in Boston? I thought Thursday night's game may be one of the biggest games in recent memory because it did earn the split, and it kind of showed Boston, okay, look, you guys got away with a few things here, but we showed you we're not going to go anywhere.
Well, we're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to be intimidated by these clubs that we play night in and night out in the American League East. We play these teams 25 times a year, and we've been competing against them every single year for the last 6 years, and we're going to continue to compete against them. So the teams that think they're going to intimidate us by their actions, they're not going to intimidate us. We're going to go out and we're going to play winning Oriole baseball. I thought our guys responded particularly well on Monday night with the way Adam Jones played center field and the way Manny Machado played third base. I mean, it was exemplary, their defense. And then Manny just kept hitting home runs. I mean, they kept trying to throw at Manny and hit him, and they couldn't hit him. And then Manny kept getting back with him by hitting home runs. And I think that's the way you go about your business. You let your actions speak for you. And our guys did that for the series. And I got to hand it to Buck and his staff. They showed good leadership ability. Our guys kept their poise. They played their game, and we got out of there with a couple of wins.
All right, so you had 2 roster moves last night, 2 tonight. There will be 1 tomorrow to get Tillman on the roster. And for all we know, Trip Norton is down the hall looking at the waiver wire. There may be somebody else here by the end of the night. Well,
we got a lot of pitchers that we've been running back and forth, but they've been doing the good job for us, and we're going to keep doing that. And I'm real proud of the way the guys have done their job this week, because when you bring up these pitchers, you never know what you're going to get, and these guys are all performing in the big leagues.
Well, congratulations. I mean, all the work in the offseason, then in the spring, who knew how necessary it would be early on? But if not for those moves, it could have been disaster with all the players coming and going. We really appreciate the visit here tonight. Keep it going, and, you know, we don't mind roster moves every day. It keeps it fresh.
Well, I think it adds a lot of life to the team.
Yes, it does.
And it inspires the guys to try harder because they know the team's trying to win.